London is a global aviation powerhouse, home to one of the busiest air travel markets on Earth, with 6 international airports in operation, including the likes of Gatwick, Stansted, and London City. You'd think the skies over Britain's capital would be spacious enough. Not quite. At the heart of this aerial traffic jam sits Heathrow Airport, a titan of transport handling around 80 million passengers a year. However, Heathrow has been bursting at the seams for nearly 2 decades. Its 2 runways, while formidable, are maxed out. That's not just inconvenient, it's a looming economic and logistical crisis. With air travel demand expected to double by 2050, the pressure to find a solution has never been greater. The current landscape: London's flight network. Let's zoom out for a moment. London's 6 airports each play a unique role. London City caters to short-haul, business-centric routes. Gatwick and Stansted focus on European destinations. Luton and Southend manage low-cost carriers. And then there's Heathrow, the granddaddy of them all. Opened for civilian use in 1946, Heathrow has grown from a humble grass airstrip to a mega hub connecting over 200 destinations in 84 countries. It's more than a people mover. It's Britain's largest port by value, handling over 40% of all non-EU exports. But its infrastructure is starting to buckle under the weight of its own success. Expansion. Easier said than done. Several solutions have been floated. Expanding smaller airports like Gatwick or Stansted could spread the load, but these come with limitations in connectivity and public transit. One particularly sci-fi sounding idea proposed connecting Heathrow and Gatwick via a high-speed rail link, essentially forming a superhub. Great in theory, but the plans derailed before they left the station. Then there's the classic British option: do nothing. Let congestion naturally limit travel, which, while environmentally friendly, is also economically suicidal. But the most sensible proposal that stuck around for years? Adding a 3rd runway to Heathrow. This $22 billion expansion could increase Heathrow's capacity to 740,000 flights annually and generate thousands of new jobs. Sounds good, right? Except it involves bulldozing 4,000 homes, diverting a motorway, and triggering more legal drama than an entire season of The Crown. Enter Boris Johnson. When all else fails, go big. Or, in the case of former London Mayor Boris Johnson, go aquatic. Tired of patching up Heathrow, Boris pitched a gleaming new airport rising from the Thames Estuary, a grand futuristic vision called London Britannia Airport. Critics dubbed it Boris Island, which sounds more like a reality show than a $76 billion infrastructure megaproject. This floating 6-runway marvel would handle up to 150 million passengers annually, nearly double Heathrow's current load, and promise quieter skies for Londoners since takeoffs and landings would occur over water. Johnson rallied marine experts, architects, and aviation nerds to get behind the dream. A city and a station, redefining airport access. One of the more mind-bending features of the proposed estuary airport was the idea of decentralizing airport terminals. Instead of dragging your suitcase to the outskirts of town, you check in at central train stations like St. Pancras or Ebbsfleet. High-speed tunnels would zip you under the city straight to your departure gate. It would be a car-free airport, and logistics operations would be handled from nearby Sheerness. Aircraft noise? Significantly reduced. Accessibility? Enhanced. Commute? Potentially smoother than your average trip on the tube. It was visionary. It was ambitious. It was kind of bonkers, but impressive all the same. Imagine checking in for a flight while grabbing your morning coffee at the station. Just don't spill it on your passport. No more sprinting through terminals like you're auditioning for Mission Impossible. The idea was so efficient, it almost made British public transport look futuristic. Of course, it also assumed the UK could build tunnels that don't take 12 years and a national budget to complete. The birds, the fog, and the bombs. Unfortunately, nature and history had other plans. The Thames Estuary is a bird's paradise, a feathery, flappy nightmare for aviation. Bird strikes can be catastrophic, and no one's figured out how to teach birds to follow traffic signals. While the planners suggested relocating bird habitats, birds, unlike polite commuters, don't follow relocation instructions. Then there's the infamous fog. The Met Office pointed out the estuary gets up to 3 times more fog than Heathrow. That's a problem when you're trying to land a jetliner and can't see past the nose cone. And finally, let's not forget the SS Richard Montgomery. This sunken World War II ship lies ominously close to the proposed airport site, with 10,000 unexploded bombs still on board. Let sleeping bombs lie has been the policy for decades. That is, until someone suggests building an airport right next to them. Global trade and the Heathrow hurdle. If there's one reason the Boris Island dream had wings, it's the promise of global competitiveness. Heathrow may be king now, but rival hubs in Paris, Frankfurt, and Amsterdam are ramping up capacity. Without expansion, London risks losing its status as Europe's premier international gateway. Boris Island, with its futuristic design and mammoth capacity, could have reasserted London's dominance. There were even plans to redevelop the Heathrow site into a new borough, complete with 300,000 new homes, a mini-city sprouting from Heathrow's ashes. But then there's the business angle. Heathrow isn't just an airport, it's the gravitational center for hundreds of international firms. Asking them to pack up and move to Kent or worse, leave the UK entirely is not exactly a compelling pitch. Business disruption alone made the Thames option a risky gamble. Money, not exactly a bargain. Let's talk numbers. The Thames Airport was projected to cost $76 billion, give or take a few billion depending on the tidal mood. Experts warned the true price tag could soar much higher, especially when you factor in new flood defenses, infrastructure, and a complete rework of surrounding transport links. While Boris had hoped for international investment, financing was always a sticking point. Unlike fantasy novels, this epic infrastructure quest had no guaranteed treasure chest waiting at the end. Even if the money had appeared, the logistics would have been staggering. New roads, rails, flood barriers, and environmental mitigation plans would need to be built, all while avoiding a floating bomb boat and not disturbing the resident birds. From dreams to drawings. Despite the grand vision, expert panels, and enough CGI renderings to rival Star Wars, Boris Island never got airborne. The UK Airports Commission ultimately ruled it too expensive, too risky, and too logistically convoluted. Heathrow's third runway, despite being controversial, noisy, and legally tangled, is back in the spotlight. It may not be glamorous, but it's feasible. As of 2025, the project is still in limbo, but Heathrow's leadership is pushing hard for approval. Ironically, Boris Johnson once said he'd lie down in front of bulldozers to stop it. Now that's what we call a plot twist. Turns out, building an airport on a foggy, bird-infested, bomb-adjacent estuary wasn't such a genius move after all. Even Hollywood would have rejected the script. Mayor fights fog, feathers, and floating explosives to save London's skies. Meanwhile, Heathrow's third runway is like your friend's band, still not famous, but somehow always touring. And Boris? Well, he may not be lying in front of bulldozers, but he's definitely buried in irony. So what's next for London's airports? The future of London's aviation is still up in the air, literally and figuratively. Will Heathrow finally get its third runway? Will regional airports rise in prominence? Will teleportation ever become a thing so we can skip airports entirely? The Boris Island saga might be over, but it serves as a fascinating case study in modern infrastructure planning. Bold vision meets harsh reality. Sometimes, even the grandest ideas need to be grounded. In the end, whether your team expand Heathrow or team build Boris Island, one thing's clear: London needs a long-term, scalable solution to stay ahead in the global travel game. And whatever that solution is, let's just hope it doesn't involve dodging sunken warships. If you enjoyed this deep dive into London's airport drama, give us a thumbs up and share it with your fellow travel nerds. Got an opinion on Boris Island is Heathrow? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to subscribe for more epic stories about the world's wildest mega projects. Thanks for flying with us today, and we'll catch you in the next video.